guys, this is RuRoniK95 here. Once again, I had to do another video, and this is something that I have been thinking about doing one before, which I haven't thought of doing one before, which I probably should have done until now. And thus being said, why not another episode to review? Just in time for the holidays, especially for the whole month as well. This December, I think it's time to figure out to do something that has something to do for the holidays, especially for the whole month as well. When it comes to having these well, it's not exactly Halloween, but it's actually Christmas. Like I said, holiday. It's time to wrap this up for this holiday, especially for the whole month as well. Now, Christmas has always got the traditional, from like regular tradition, Christmas specials and movies on there, from like what we see every holiday of, like Charlie Brown Christmas, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Christmas Story, and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. But my most significantly are specifically the ones that are infamous. Now, the 2000s had to dominate with such holiday Christmas specials, such as the legendary Ed, Edd and Eddy's Jingle Jingle Jangle, because I had vivid memories of seeing it on there, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. Today, we're going to be doing a review on a Christmas episode from this cartoon that came out in the 90s by Disney. Which, you guessed it, Darkwing Duck. Let's get dangerous for this holiday season. Starting with this Christmas episode. And this is the episode that I'm going to be reviewing for this holiday season. It's A Wonderful Leaf. So the story in this episode is about particularly of how it's Christmas time in St. Canard, especially around Christmas Eve, and there's last minute shopping with how everyone's fighting over their gifts, of how they wanted to get their hands on first, especially they want it first, particularly like pushing, shoving, like it's Black Friday at Walmart. Bushroot in disguise, in a coat or whatever that is, notices something and then got chased by the mob of people doing the last minute shopping. He hides in that, I believe it was like a plant shop where they had those plants and other things and all that. And he was trying to figure out of how he could buy something, but that wasn't long until the customers arrived for the last minute shopping. As always, particularly, it's like, how do they do this? Until the kid basically picked the hair on Bushroot, and that sets him off, and that decides to freak her out particularly, and yeah, and there was all hell broke loose, and even an angry customers in there chasing him out as well. But from out of nowhere, he was hiding under the empty Christmas present box, whatever it is. If he could figure out a way, something must have gone right. Later on, we see Drake Mallard and Launchpad McQuack setting up the Christmas lights for the Christmas tree as well, just in time for the holidays. And even seems to go according to plan. This has seemed to be for the fair of this. And despite of how this could have figured out a way, if something that to do for the holidays, until Gosselin was sliding down everywhere until crashed into a Christmas tree. which almost could have started all this. Yeah, because she found this prehistoric sled. But then it was broken in any other case. And Goslin wanted to open the presents early, but Drake Mallard told Goslin it's a Christmas tradition that open the presents on Christmas morning, which I believe it's on the 25th of December, especially of how this goes. 2 or less than satisfactory results, especially of how. Trying to sneak around about the presents along with Honker as well, wearing like these soldier helmets, trying to peeking on the presents, but it wasn't. Goslin is not even right about opening these presents early because of course it's a Christmas tradition. That's the thing. Bushroot lets an army of Christmas trees come to life to take over the mall with his magic, with his marching Christmas trees, just to wreck, calling all for the Christmas trees by settling off on customers and everything. This all happens of how this particularly, how they do this. It's like they didn't notice something of what's happening. Like, why do they do this? How does everything have gone on according to how it's starting all the crap of this? Well, they didn't know who is the cause of all this. About how it was spoiling Christmas, the horrible thing of how what Bushroot always going to do. For the when he did phase 1 and then he does the phase 2, where he knocks out this guy in a Santa suit, and he disguised as Santa in the mall, particularly just to thwart off those kids who wanted to see Santa in this episode, particularly, and confiscated a Darkwing Duck plush toy or whatever that is. And then Tank appeared, roasting on Bushroot in a Santa suit. But the army of trees had put a stop to Tank. The Muddlefoots didn't notice something of what's going on during their last minute shopping on the holidays, particularly of how things have gone from out of nowhere. And this was more different, unlike any other on the face. By this time, of course, Drake Mallard and Launchpad McQuack are doing their last-minute shopping. And they notice something about somebody stealing the fruit cake, and they could have figured something out suspicious of how what's happening. And it was something happening to all those customers. And then he said it's like a job when he accidentally disguised himself as Santa Claus, which is almost in a not a heroic thing, but an accidental thing in disguise. And the angry customers knew it as how this goes. But then they disappeared when he was hiding, and then Drake Mallard appeared in his Darkwing outfit when he became Darkwing Duck, when he has always wanted to put a stop to Bushroot, when he noticed about how he's bringing all the ruckus in the shopping, especially on around Christmas Eve, particularly when, especially this wasn't long until the army of Christmas trees arrived. Of like, where can they go next? Of how this particularly goes. And then Darkwing has always knew that Bushroot's been using those walking Christmas trees to ruin the holidays, like around Christmas. He said it wasn't Christmassy enough. with all hell broke loose, as how it seems to goes. When he has put a stop, when he shoots the walking Christmas tree by decorations on it, and he didn't know how it expected to go, so they had to take a run for it. So the Christmas tree, he's always took off, but Darkwing and Launchpad are hiding in those present boxes as well. Unlike any other way to reach, they found those pine needles, and by this time, it didn't seem to go pretty well for particularly of how Bushroot always uses the signal of calling all the Christmas trees to make those Christmas trees come alive in any residential houses, especially the Muddlefoot's houses, the house of the Muddlefoot's residential place, of how this goes. And yet, everything seems to go from bad to worse. And then he found Darkwing or Drake Mallard's residential place and putting a Christmas tree star on the top of the tree to make that tree come alive as well. And the alarm went off blaring like the intruder alert thing. And Gosselin and Honker always tells that walking tree Christmas tree thing to put those gifts back, but tying them up with like the Christmas wreath and take off running by stealing all the Christmas presents on the Operation Ruin Christmas, or is it the Operation Bah Humbug in this particular thing? We'll get to the references in just a moment. And they got stealing presents, what Bushroot has doing. But this wasn't long until Darkwing arrives with Launchpad McQuack just to stop this Christmas crime spree, as it's how it goes. For this whole reasonable thing, the only thing of how it could have figured out a way, if they could ever stop Bushroot and those sneaky walking Christmas trees, about those seasonal shenanigans, of how they could figure out a way for this as well. By this time for this, of how they wanted to figure out if Bushroot is up to something, but then this motorcycle sled thing, hybrid, start going off all when Gosselin saved on there, Darkwing on there, as well as Launchpad McQuack, and this basically how by using that fake Santa and his reindeer sled decoration, whatever that is, like going through the whole thing of all more different than a roundabout of how this seems how it goes. And this happened on Christmas Eve in St. Canard. Yeah. And then they all over the city is how it goes. So when Bushroot has lost them about how, but this wasn't long until Darkwing arrived, especially had to stop those walking Christmas trees that got all the stolen Christmas gifts. He would have nearly got to put a stop to this as well, is how it goes, particularly. And they had an operation about how Darkwing had the smartest move on here, if he could have stopped Bushroot on there, particularly as well. And then he could have realized if he could have fought the Christmas tree that was walking especially when it comes alive. And when Bushroot always wants his army of Christmas trees that are the ones that came alive, to throw the decorations at Darkwing Duck, but it didn't have the effect, especially when all the other Christmas trees that came alive throwing the Christmas decorations at Darkwing Duck. How this particularly of how it seems of how it goes, but when the water tower thing comes out of the sidewalk and the water comes out, and this particularly of how he would expect of how this goes, and he always wants to put a stop to those Christmas trees, especially the ones that come alive, with a snow shovel. So he defeated the Christmas trees that came alive with a snow shovel by shooting water at them, and those trees got freezing up. And then next, he has put a stop to Bushroot by stopping him with water, which freezes him as cold as an ice, and he puts the handcuffs, just for the victory of how he has put a stop to the fiendish plans of what Bushroot has plot. Meanwhile, of course, he didn't know about how Launchpad, McAd, Gosselin, and Honker were figuring out a way about how he can return the stolen gifts, because all of the presents from Honker's family were missing, except Gosselin's Christmas gifts are still there. But they have to figure out a way to bring the Christmas presents back, for what Darkwing had an idea for, in order to save Christmas, particularly of how this seems to go. Above all this, when the Muddlefoots heard say it was Santa arrive, but then Tank noticed something when he puts like a bear trap in the chimney, which has his sneaky-ish plans. But this wasn't long until Drake Mallard in a Santa suit arrived to bring back the gifts. But then it accidentally pushed Tank right into the bear trap, and then Tank got stuck in the chimney in this particular part. In this episode of how, Drake Mallard, now in a Santa suit, brought back the Christmas gifts to the Muddlefoots, and it was basically a Christmas miracle by bringing back the gifts in this particular ways of this goes. You know, particularly say it was a nice thing to do, to bring back the Christmas gifts back to the Muddlefoots, which is a nice thing to do. When Launchpad noticed something on Drake Mallard's place, where this Christmas gifts that says, "To Gosselin from Santa," and it's her own sled, which is a miracle, which was the first Christmas gift that she has ever received as well. And that's how you end with a nice ending of how it has a festive holiday tradition. So the story was basically Suburb, and it's very interesting. And on top of that, this was the last appearance of Tank Muddlefoot in this particular episode, because despite any characters, most of them have their last and final appearance as well. According to the fact of how I can learn about this, I know that this was the first Darkwing Duck Christmas episode that has been set around Christmas, especially for an episode like It's a Wonderful Leaf. It was a whole thing for an episode like this. And on top of that, accordingly, is that this has gone to a point is where it feels where it has anything as well. It's more holiday festive fun, just like any other holiday Christmas special or a movie that I've ever saw. It's more holiday festive than Unaccompanied Minors and Deck the Halls, but still a better holiday episode than Deck the Halls and Unaccompanied Minors. And yes, this was the best Christmas episode from Darkwing Duck. Especially the one that I was watching from the Volume 2 DVD of Darkwing Duck on Disc 2. Because this is the best Christmas episode to watch, especially if you're ever wanted to binge watch a Christmas episode on this holiday season. Because we all know the characters on there as well. It's very good though, but this was the only episode to feature the last appearance of Tank Muddlefoot in this Christmas episode from Darkwing Duck, like It's a Wonderful Leaf. And this Christmas episode is very fun to watch, and it lives inside your DVD collection like those Christmas gifts wrapped in Christmas wrapping papers under the Christmas tree on Christmas Day. It was more festive as your stocking stuffer by the fireplace on Christmas Eve, or as well. Especially for an episode like It's a Wonderful Leaf, which is this Christmas episode from Darkwing Duck as well. And for my thoughts on this Christmas episode, well, there was a certain way of how I consider this Christmas episode to be the most festive holiday episode of how this has been setting around Christmas, especially for an episode like Darkwing Duck, It's a Wonderful Leaf as well. And for overall, I'm gonna say this episode's the best Christmas episode, especially if you have this on the Volume 2 DVD of Darkwing Duck, which is in your DVD collection. And especially if you watch that Christmas episode, like, I believe it's on the holidays, because this wasn't the first time I wanted to review a Christmas episode from Darkwing Duck, which I have never done before until now. Which, this takes the cake, especially for this holiday season as well. But it was a Christmas holiday tradition to remember whenever you're watching this. Because when I first watched this, like, episode once, twice, maybe 3 times now, and this was the first time I had a Christmas holiday tradition to remember now as well. Which is, it's more festive along with Christmas episodes from other television series from the 90s, such as A Shaolin Christmas from the final season of Kung Fu The Legend Continues, and as well as more good Christmas holiday days on Christmas specials like Ed, Edd and Eddy's Jingle Jingle Jangle. And however, even though this episode of Darkwing Duck, It's a Wonderful Leaf is available on the Volume 2 of Darkwing Duck DVD, it's also available in the standard standalone DVD release from the Disney Movie Club, which is the only DVD release for the only episode to be featured on a home video release on DVD as well. Oh, okay, if I'm not mistaken though. And my score for this episode, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 as well. Because it was a Christmas holiday tradition to remember. Especially, if you ever want to binge watch on something around the holidays, give this episode a watch. And make sure you gotta feel like if you ever been binge watching on this Christmas episode from Darkwing Duck, especially It's a Wonderful Leaf. So that's going to be it for my Christmas episode review on Darkwing Duck episode It's a Wonderful Leaf for today's review, you guys. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's what I'm going to say for this one. This is the first time I wanted to do a Christmas episode review on Darkwing Duck It's a Wonderful Leaf for the very first time. Especially that I was watching on the Darkwing Duck Volume 2 DVD right there as well. Which I think I had a holiday tradition to remember, especially whenever I can do a video like this as well. That's why. Subscribe for content. My Anime Planet Patreon links will be in the description down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below on this video. What are your thoughts on this episode? Let me know. What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to smack the like button if you enjoyed this video. Be sure to click on the subscribe button. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, especially if you're new to my channel as a newcomer. Smack the notifications bell button. Be sure to get notified also as well for more latest updates as well. And that's all I have what I got for today. Wow. Reviewing a Christmas episode from a cartoon from the 90s is definitely a 100% Christmas holiday tradition to remember, especially that I finally get to review Darkwing Duck Christmas episode It's a Wonderful Leaf, especially in this month of December, that I wanted to get to do one, especially that has something to do for the holidays. That's why. This is RuRoniK95 saying thank you for watching my video, and I'm glad you liked it. I hope you enjoy it. Hope to see you soon for the next video. Hope you have a great day. This is RuRoniK95 signing off. Thank you for watching my video, and I will see you soon for more videos. Take care. Bye.